Each week, dozens of fans send us their latest dashcam videos, and our team watches them all before compiling the top 20 submissions for your enjoyment. Brace yourself because you won't see these videos anywhere else. JR was driving down an Oklahoma highway when the driver of a Kia Optima merged into the fender of his Rivian R1T, effectively pit maneuvering themselves off the front of his pickup truck. JR called 911 after the Optima ricocheted off the median barrier and spun across the entire highway. When a highway patrol officer arrived, he spoke with the Optima driver before getting JR's side of the story. After he showed the officer the footage from his Rivian's integrated dash cams, the officer escorted him across the highway so he could exchange information with the Optima driver. The Kia was undrivable and had to be towed away from the scene, while JR's pickup only sustained cosmetic damage and he was able to drive himself to a hospital to get checked out. Fixing his R1T will cost around $6,800. He wanted to shout out his sons AJ, Benny, and Reese, who watch the latest Wham Bam Tesla Cam episode with him every week. Don't forget to subscribe to Wham Bam Dashcam too. Anthony's 8-month pregnant wife Ariel was running an errand when she tried to turn into a parking lot, but the wheels of her Honda Element lost traction in the snow. Ariel's SUV collided with a Ford Focus, and at first, the driver was not happy about what had happened. Once both drivers had calmed down, they exchanged information before both were able to drive away. Anthony told us he was disappointed after finding out his Honda Element had been damaged, but the safety of his wife and unborn child is much more important to him. Hex was on her way to a concert with her boyfriend when they spotted an unmarked police SUV in the travel lane ahead. Moments later, a BMW went flying past them, continuing to speed down the highway as it passed the cop.
He's gonna get pulled over, he's gonna get pulled over.
The police SUV immediately merged behind the speeding BMW before following it down the highway for a while. It didn't take long before the officer lit up the party lights and pulled the BMW over for some instant justice. Hex told us they cheered on the cops before continuing to the concert and that we all know how everyone feels about BMW drivers. Jim was on his way to work when the driver of an oncoming Toyota SUV failed to yield and was T-boned by Jim's Ford F-150. Jim had merged to the right lane to go around a Mazda SUV waiting to turn left, but the oncoming driver hadn't factored that possibility into his decision-making. The result was that both vehicles were totaled. The driver of the Mazda stopped and checked on both drivers before police arrived and cited the Toyota driver for failing to yield the right-of-way. Thankfully, nobody was seriously injured in the collision. The Banks fam was driving through Ocean City when they spotted a black pickup truck hauling a very long ladder that was poorly secured. It also didn't have any flag on the end of it to warn other drivers. While the driver of the Chevy Silverado didn't seem to mind their ladder sticking dangerously out of their pickup's bed, they did mind the Banks fam getting too close to them at a traffic light. After the light turned green, the pickup driver pulled over and flipped the Banks fam off. But moments after they drove past him, he sped around them again, almost losing his ladder. The Banks fam told us they're glad to finally have a video to submit to Wham Bam after having a dash cam in their Honda Accord for months. Be careful out there, Banks fam. Byron was taking his wife home after a fast food date when an SUV driver ran a stop sign before cutting him off while straddling a lane line. Watch what happened when the light turned green. Yeah, that lane is for continuing straight or turning right, definitely not for turning left. Thankfully, Byron was able to avoid getting hit by the wayward SUV, and he captured it with the dashcam we recommend in the description. Celeste was on her way home from a medical appointment when she watched an oncoming car T-bone the driver of a red sedan who'd chosen the wrong time to try to cross the highway. Celeste pulled over and called 911, but thankfully, she told us nobody appeared to be seriously hurt. When a sheriff's deputy arrived, she got his email address and later sent him a copy of her dashcam footage. Celeste told us that watching Wham Bam videos is her favorite part of her nightly routine. She wanted to shout out her mother for buying her a dashcam and her Uncle Mike who installed it in her Nissan Rogue. Sean was headed home after getting some boba when he watched the drivers of a Ford F-150 and a Nissan Armada road raging. He doesn't know what started this little battle of the boneheads, but he got to enjoy the show for a while. Both drivers crossed double yellow lines, brake-checked each other, and had close calls with oncoming traffic while competing to see who had the fewest brain cells. Eventually, they both made U-turns through the median. We're not sure who won the contest, but Sean told us this was just your average day in South Florida, and that Florida drivers are something else. We actually made a special video featuring the worst drivers of Florida. We'll put a link to it at the end of this video, just in case you haven't seen it yet. For now, let's get back to this week's submissions. Derek was on his way to see his great-grandmother in the hospital when the SUV ahead of him came to a complete stop on a one-lane section of an interstate highway. He slammed on his brakes, but the driver behind him did not. When a Ram 2500 slammed into Derek's Chevy Tahoe, the impact shoved it forward into the Jeep Cherokee, making this a three-vehicle collision. He called 911 right away, and first responders arrived in under 10 minutes. Derek told us this is a great reminder to leave enough follow distance while driving. He's been a fan of Wham Bam for a while, but he never thought he'd have a video to send us. If you have one, the submission form is linked below. Pranav was on his way to work when a cyclist appeared in front of his Nissan Maxima out of nowhere. The cyclist, who'd been illegally cutting between cars, was fortunate that Pranav was paying attention and had good reflexes. He told us many cyclists in this town seem to disregard basic road safety. Justin's wife watched an indecisive SUV driver cause a collision before fleeing the scene. The driver of a gold Dodge Durango turned wide before overturning back into the near lane, sideswiping a silver SUV and shoving it off the road and nearly into a mailbox. The gold SUV then took off, eventually hitting a road sign. The Durango finally got stuck in a median before stopping. Justin's wife had already called 911, and she provided a copy of this footage to the driver of the silver Subaru. The Durango was undrivable and had to be towed. Justin told us he loves our channel and he watches our videos with his son every week. If you're a fan, be sure to hit the subscribe button and let's keep rolling. The Stig had just picked up his daughter from school when he encountered a Tesla behaving badly. The driver of a Cybertruck, the coolest pickup on the planet if I do say so myself, wasn't satisfied with the Stig's obedience of the speed limit.
That Tesla man can't drive. That Tesla man can't drive.
After the Cybertruck driver illegally used a turn lane to zoom around the Stig, they both ended up stopping for the next traffic light. The Stig told us he smiled at the Cybertruck driver as he drove by when his light turned green. Ohani was headed to get the emissions checked on his Subaru Forester when a pickup driver made that unnecessary. The pickup driver, who had a stop sign, crossed the intersection in spite of the fact that Ohani did not have a stop sign and was already heading across his path. Needless to say, Ohani had no opportunity to react to prevent a collision. Thankfully, the driver of the pickup admitted responsibility and was apologetic. Ohani is now waiting for his Subaru to be repaired, but he's had to hire an attorney since the insurance company is being difficult. Dylan and Ash were headed home after some last-minute wedding shopping when they suddenly encountered a driver headed straight toward them on the wrong side of the road.
Whoa.
The SUV driver had just turned onto the road when Dylan and Ash came along, and somehow they'd managed to end up on the wrong side of it. Thankfully, Dylan was paying attention and was able to maneuver around the SUV. He also asked us to say that he loves his fiancée more, which we're hoping she understands because we don't. Maybe they were arguing about which of them loves the other more. Congrats, you two, and good luck. Brandon was driving behind a semi-truck when he watched the driver begin a U-turn across another lane. Watch what happened to the pickup truck that had to stop for the turning semi. After the pickup driver screeched to a halt, he was rear-ended by another driver who'd realized too late what was happening. Brandon offered his dashcam footage to the involved drivers, and he told us they weren't injured. Jasmine was driving to a chiropractic appointment with a friend along for the ride when, for whatever reason, she got the feeling she should merge into the travel lane. Watch what happened right after she did.
Oh. I am so glad I knew.
The next moment after she'd left the exit lane, a sheet of plywood in a trailer suddenly got caught by the wind and snapped. Had Jasmine not changed lanes, it would have flown directly into her Honda Accord. Thankfully, she told us the plywood didn't hit any other vehicles either, and the pickup driver saw what happened and stopped to collect it. Want to see what happens when two drivers race to make it through their yellow lights? This submitter watched an SUV from the right try to make a left turn, while another from the left tried to speed straight across. Our submitter told us her boyfriend is a first responder, so he immediately ran to check on the involved drivers after the high-speed collision. Thankfully, they were both okay, but both vehicles were totaled by the impact. Our submitter provided a copy of her dashcam footage to the responding police. She told us we inspired her to get a dashcam about a year ago. This was the first time she needed it, but she's very glad she had it. Ryan was taking his usual route home when a driver ahead of him didn't check for traffic before changing lanes, and he barely avoided getting pushed into cars parked on the street. After slamming on the brakes to avoid a collision, Ryan pulled up next to the other driver. He told us she apologized profusely, and he told her to be careful before wishing her a good night. We're a bit torn on this one. On the one hand, the other driver didn't check her mirror, but on the other hand, Ryan's footage clocked him going 45 miles per hour in a 30-mile-per-hour zone. And moments earlier, he'd been going 55. While a collision would have almost certainly been considered the other driver's fault, Ryan's excessive speed would have definitely made the situation a lot worse. Drive safely, Ryan. The life you save could be your own. Curtis was headed down a turn lane toward an intersection when an SUV suddenly turned across his lane. Even though Curtis slammed on his brakes, he was unable to avoid colliding with the SUV. Thankfully, the only damage to his GMC Envoy was some minor scratches and a bent license plate, and nobody was injured. The SUV driver had just come to the United States and spoke no English, so Curtis used a translator app to communicate. After exchanging insurance information, both drivers went their separate ways. Jeremy was on his way home when he spotted an Austin FX4, a hackney carriage not usually seen on this side of the pond. He told us he's seen classic cars in Colorado before, but this was the first time he saw an English taxi. Don't forget to watch our Worst Drivers of Florida video, or if you've already seen it, why not check out Worst Drivers of Colorado? Don't forget to send us your dashcam videos and subscribe so the next episode will end up in your feed. See you next week.
Wham, bam, we got a Patreon man. Please support the show.